Okay, I'm gonna get on with my muffin recipe. So for those of you guys who joined late, this is what I'm about to show you how to make. It's unsweet, low carb, low to no carb herb muffins. And you could call it something other than a muffin, but I think it's kind of fun because everybody feels like, oh, I can't eat sugar anymore. I want muffins, or I'm going out for Mother's Day. And we did a newsletter, if you guys are on my mailing list, it went out yesterday, about like, what if someone wants to take you out for Mother's Day? I mean, when you go out for Mother's Day, or you're taking mom out, pancakes, you know, terrible eggs that are all factory farmed. They've got muffins. There's nothing good on the menu, honestly. I mean, even the fruit, you know. But anyway, so what you could do is you could smuggle these in your purse, and then just when everybody's eating their stuff, you could just take them out, ask for some water, and maybe get like a little side salad or something. And then that way you can feel like you can go out and eat with people without feeling like you have to compromise yourself. Order a half of an avocado and have that on your plate. You know, you can always find things on the menu like, oh, I'll have the steamed veggies and half of an avocado. Then you just pull out your little muffins out of your purse, or if you're a man, you pull them out of your man bag, and then everybody's envying you. Like it happens to me on airplanes all the time. People are like, where'd you get that? I'm like, I brought it. So taking that little bit of extra time to do this is going to pay off hugely, because this recipe makes 5 big muffins or 10 little ones. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing I'm going to do, and if you guys want to get pen and paper out, now's a good time, or you can rewatch this. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start by adding making my flour. So my flour is going to be made in a blender. It cannot be made in a food processor if you're wondering, because the coconut doesn't get ground up enough. The blades are just too big. So now I put this recipe in half, but I'm going to tell you the full amounts because you're going to want to make a big recipe. You're going to want to fill the whole muffin pan like this. So I'll give you the full recipe that'll make 12 muffins, because I can see this backwards and count. Okay, so here we go. So 3 cups of coconut flakes, or desiccated coconut, or dried shredded coconut, whatever you want to call it. These are the bigger ones, but you can use the smaller ones. If you use the smaller ones, maybe 2.5 cups. Let's see if I just gotta get that out of the way. Okay, and then we need a cup of either sunflower or pumpkin seeds. These do not need to be soaked and sprouted because you want them to be dry to make them into a flour. The baking process will get rid of the phytates, so you don't need to worry as much about that. But if you wanted to, you could soak, sprout, and then dehydrate them and then make them. But I feel like it makes them a little too volatile, so it's better just to do the full fat, unsoaked sunflower or pumpkin seeds. And like I said, don't pay attention to my cup measurements because I'm telling you the amount, and that would be 1 cup. Okay? And then the other thing you're going to need is a 1/4 cup of chia seeds. I used white chia seeds, but of course you can use black. Now this is like your egg. So this is your egg replacer. This is what's going to be your binder in your recipe. So I'm putting all of this in the blender so that I can just go ahead and grind that up together and make it into 1 flour. So I'll just move the camera this way so you guys can see my blender. There. Okay, so putting it in the blender, and always start on low. And you want to go on low and just kind of let it do its thing. Don't turn it up too quickly because it'll butter the bottom. You want the whole thing to see how if you go low, it just kind of pulls it into the center. That's better. And you can slowly turn it up a little bit. It's just about being patient. Let it do its thing. Don't overheat it. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm just going to use the tamper to get the sides down a little bit. That'll help. You just don't want to see any actual pieces in there of seeds. You want it to be all like looking like a flour. But you definitely don't want it to be a butter, right? So you have to kind of know your timing of like, okay, it's flour, stop it before it turns into butter. Okay, so I'm going to come back over this way. I'm going to be moving it around a little bit today. And I'm going to put the flour now into my bowl. And a great trick is just twist the bottom of this and then bang it. Or you can always, I got it all out, but you can always use your little Vitamix spatula. Okay, so then that's my dry ingredients. And then I have a few more dry ingredients, which is going to be a 1/4 cup of coconut flour, and that's what that looks like. Coconut flour is just the fiber. There's no fat in it, so that's the difference between using the whole coconut chips, which have all the fat in them. So if you did all coconut flour, it would be dry cardboard, and you'd be like, ugh. You wouldn't be able to breathe. You'd be drinking water to try and get it, or swallowing oil to get it to go down your throat. So coconut flour, the one thing to know about this is a little goes a really long way, but it's important for texture. It gives it that real bready texture. So about a 1/4 cup of that. And then I'm just gonna add all my dry ingredients into the bowl all at the same time. So about a 1/4 cup or a 1/4 teaspoon of high mineral salt. I'm using real salt from Utah today. And then you can pick your seasoning. So since these are savory muffins, these are herb muffins, I'm gonna do some Italian seasoning in there, about a tablespoon. And onion and garlic powder, a teaspoon of each, if you like those things. I love it in my seasoning. But you can add, if you wanted to make Mexican ones, you could add. So this is where you can do variety. You can make Mexican flavor by adding chili seasoning and then using carrots. So you can get creative with the different flavors. So that's kind of all my dry ingredients. And then I am gonna add baking soda and baking powder to this. But what I'm gonna do first is mix it in with some apple cider vinegar and kind of make it foam. I just think that maybe makes the muffins more fluffy, I'm not sure. I haven't really done a lot of baking until recently because I've been doing raw for 20 years. But lately we've been getting into doing the gluten-free, grain-free baked stuff. And you could definitely dehydrate these as well, just don't put the baking soda in. But they're gonna be a lot denser, and you might want to like lay them out like flatbread instead of doing them in the muffin tins. So you could experiment around with the raw ones as well. Just those of you guys who know how to dehydrate, you just put it in there and for a couple hours, and then you flip it, and then you just keep testing it to see if you like the texture. Okay, so that looks good. It's all ground down into a flour. And then now I'm going to take just take any kind of cup like this one. I think you guys can see this board here. And add, I'm gonna need 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. Well, I'm looking at Caitlin because this was she had made this as a sweet muffin, and then I converted it into a savory muffin. So we have the sweet muffin recipe on the website right now on purejoyplanet.com as like one of the latest recipes. And then I just took out all the sweet stuff and put in vegetables in place of like the apple and stuff. Okay, so I've got the 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, and then I need baking soda. And actually, baking soda is, I've recently learned, it's a super alkalizing food. So if you ever have pain in your kidneys, or you're afraid about getting a kidney stone, or if you've been drinking or doing something crazy, take some baking soda and that'll alkalize your body. So I think the recipe was, is it 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda?
Yeah, but you're doing half, right?
Yeah. So there, for them it's 3/4, for me it's half. So I'll just do this. And see how that foams, isn't that fun? So I think what the foaming does is it kind of helps to make them lighter and fluffier. I don't know. And then the baking powder is also 3/4 of a teaspoon. And make sure that it says aluminum free. I got this from Trader Joe's. And I don't use powder that much, so don't ask me what the difference is between the two. I think in cakes is when people use powder, and they use soda in cookies. So we're doing both, just to cover all our bases. And they turned out great, don't worry, we've already tested them, because that's how I showed you that. Okay, so I just threw that in with the dry stuff. And the only other ingredient I need now is my veggies. So I'm gonna blend the veggies up a little bit and make them into kind of like a base, a paste. So have you guys heard of patty pan? This is what a patty pan looks like. It's really cute. I got a bunch of these local at Farmer's Market yesterday, freshly picked, but you could also use zucchini. So you need about 3 cups of chopped and shredded vegetables. So I used a purple carrot that's actually yellow in the middle. Isn't that cool? It's like a little mandala. I love nature. And then I chopped up some kale, because that's what I had in my fridge. That's the thing. Hey, I've got carrots in my fridge, I'm gonna use those. I've got a bunch of herbs in my fridge, I'm gonna use those. I've got, you know, whatever you've got, tomatoes and bell peppers, you can use that. So I've got about, it's gonna be 3 cups altogether, but I've got a cup and a half because I'm doing half a recipe. And I just chopped them all up, and then I'm gonna put them in the blender. And you could even throw in some of this green onion. I have like a green onion top, if you wanna give it a nice oniony flavor. And I've got rosemary here, which I'm gonna chop some, but I'll also put some in the blender because it'll help to really purify it, or not purify, puree it. And then I just need some water, only about a 1/4 cup. Oh, actually for you guys it'll be half a cup. So 3 cups of chopped veggies and herbs and whatever you want to add together in here. And it should be kind of dense vegetables, like not all kale, Should be some root, like some carrot. If you're doing the whole candida cleanse thing, like a minimal amount of carrot, it should be mostly things like zucchini. I think zucchini is a great one because it's light and fluffy. And then about a half a cup of water. And then some lemon juice. So you need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, freshly squeezed. And then I'm gonna blend again. And when I made these ones, which those of you who guys just joined, you can see, I didn't fully blend the vegetables, and that was because the blender I was using, which is one of those big fat ones earlier, it wouldn't blend it up. I was like, blend it, because it's so wide. But this one should blend it pretty easily. But I think I'll still leave some chunks because I like the way it looks to have a little bit of texture. And I'm definitely going to use my tamper to get the dry ingredients down into the bottom. Okay, it's already starting to really get pureed, and it's going to just turn like kale green, which I don't really want it to. So you guys can see there's still some pretty colorful shredded purple carrots. Let me just move it over here so we can go back to my bowl, which is where? Oh, it's over here. Okay, so now I can take this bowl, and the instructions say, and we're going to post this recipe, don't worry. The instructions say to mix all the dry stuff together, which I've done. All the herbs are in there, all the spices. And now add the wet ingredients, which is my pureed veggies, my apple cider vinegar with the baking soda. Smells like cut grass because of the kale, but it tastes really good once it bakes. And then there's my baking soda and apple cider vinegar. And what else is on my tray? Oh, the only other thing is the coconut oil here. And the coconut oil was liquid, but it's been sitting here a while and it's cooler in the house, so it got a little solid, but you want to melt it first. And so the coconut oil is only, Caitlin, is it 1/8 of a cup or is it 1/4 of a cup? Quarter of a cup. And that's if you want it to be nice and fatty. And the quicker, the more, this is funny, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the more coconut oil and the more good fat you eat, like avocados, coconut oil, even nuts and seeds, the quicker you're going to become fat adapted and the less carbs you eat. And that's going to help you actually have more energy and feel really good when you're healing from all these different candida and different things you're clearing out of your body. So that looks really good. And then the last thing I want to do is add, some of you guys have known me for a while, or you've come to my retreats. I know Matthias, you've seen these, and I know Jeanette, you've seen these. These are my olives that I sell on the website, and they're amazing. We have an herbed one and a plain one. And I'm going to add, so the reason they're different is you can't really find these in stores because they're dehydrated and chewy. And I keep mine in a jar, and you can tell I really like them. So olives are another great way to be fat adapted, and you can eat all you want. And they're a great snack when you're craving sugar. Just eat some olives. Seriously, they work great. So what I'm going to do is just chop some up. Not too many, because that first batch I made I noticed was a little salty because I added more than I needed to. And they are a little salty, but I like them. They're not overly salty like some of those olives out there. And they don't have any brine in them. And they're only sun-dried. I mean, when they say sun-dried, that could be dehydrated. I think sun-dried is kind of a loose term these days. But I've got too many things bouncing on my board. But what I want to do is just chop them and then kind of sprinkle them into the muffins. And they can just be roughly chopped. They don't have to be super fine. And then we have, Caitlin planted basil in the backyard. So I pulled a few little leaves off. And we'll just chop those in. That's kind of optional. And then we have the rosemary, which I pretty much already blended in, but I could chop some more. When that earlier batch was baking, I don't think there's anything else on there, right? When the earlier batch was baking, the whole house smelled like rosemary. It was just intoxicating. So this really will help you from craving sweets and get, off of all the grains too. Like if you're still eating grains, maybe you're still in that place where like, oh, grains are fine, blah, blah, blah. But believe me, the more you do your research, read Grain Brain if you haven't, read Brain Maker if you haven't, start listening to different podcasts. I mean, the science is out there. Lots of people are talking about it. The sooner you get off grains, the quicker your body's going to heal, the more energy you're going to have, the less you're going to be dealing with things when you get in your 50s and 60s. So it's no better time than now to start really thinking about getting off grains, including corn. corn is one of the most GMO foods out there, even if it's non-GMO. Because there's just, you know, with Monsanto, I mean, you can see one documentary and kind of get it. And one that I watched was called The Future of Food, and it was a little depressing, but you'll kind of get the idea, like we really need to be voting and taking better care of what we're eating. Okay, so then at this point, oven's turned on to 350, and for you guys in other countries, you're gonna have to figure out what 350 Fahrenheit is in Celsius. And it's gonna go in for 25 minutes. And now I did the earlier batch of muffins I did were a little thin or a little shallow, so they probably only needed 20 minutes and I did 25. So everywhere, depending on where you live, it's gonna be a little bit different time, but start with 20 minutes at 350 and then you can always leave them in for another 5 minutes if they don't look ready. And like I said, they can be dehydrated as well. And that would be 100 and maybe 115, maybe 125 or 130 for the first hour or two. And then I wouldn't do such thick muffins. You could do like little balls, like little kind of bread looking loafy things in the dehydrator, and you can do it that way as well. And then like I said, make sure you flip them off that drying sheet ASAP so they don't start to ferment. Because we don't want to eat bad fermentation, we want to eat good fermentation, right? Like cultured yogurts and stuff like that. So that was half a batch, and so it made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 not huge muffins. They're you know, somewhere in between, but you can fill them all the way full if you want to. So anyway, that's it today. We'll go ahead and post this recipe on Facebook. We'll link it to actually to the website. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I will see you next Friday. Oh, forgot to tell you, for those of you guys who don't get my newsletter, if you want to do any of our online courses, which is all our gluten-free pastries and desserts, our level 1 course, we have one that has cultured food, which is awesome. Those are all 15% off just till for Sunday, Mother's Day. And you would just use the code Mother's Day at the point of purchase, and you'll get 15% off of any of our online courses. So just go to purejoyplant.com, click on courses, and you'll see all the online courses, plus a couple of our upcoming live ones, like our Portland, Oregon, or our Bend, Oregon 3-day weekend retreat in September. And I'm going to be going to Mallorca, Spain at the end of October to teach a course. So we got lots of stuff going on. Just keep get on our mailing list, and then just keep checking back in to see what we're up to. Hi, Terry. Good to see you here. Cherry. Okay, see you guys later. I'm going to hit publish, and then you guys can go back and watch what you missed. Bye. See you next Friday.